Hey, everybody, welcome. It's another brand new sound effects and all those good things. Brand new episode of Because Cannabis every single Wednesday, 4:20 p.m. on YouTube, every Thursday on Spotify and anywhere that you listen to audio podcasts, produced and presented by Wayward Media. As always, I am B.C. Wehman. That's Dustin Kava. Dustin, how are we doing today?
I am doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good, hanging in there, having a vibe. We are back. It's been a good month, the month of October so far, 2023. Been in and about the cannabis scene. Lots happening in our local cannabis world, in the world of Ohio cannabis stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about today, Dustin. Usually we have some fun intros. Usually we have some fun things. Not today. Today we're all about lots of fun. With lots of people, let's bring in what essentially Dustin Kava has become our little small crew. When we go to events, we're slowly working to create some things with Wayward Media. They've both been guests on the show before. Kevin Roche swagged to the nine, sir. Like, you literally, I feel like you have a missed opportunity not having a cup that you may have picked up over the time. That swag to the nines. Kevin Roche, Scott MacLaren from Clee Culture. In the evening time with the green screen background, Dustin Kava, looking fancy and fly. Love you, sir. Hope all is well with you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for listening at Meet WM Socially. We're going to do things, I guess, not a little bit different today, but we got the crew here. We've been hitting a couple of live events this summer and this fall, concluding just recently with the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. And all four of us are in the state of Ohio. All four of us have interest or thoughts or just worlds that revolve around Ohio and potentially its oncoming cannabis legalization. And so let's bring some people in, Kevin and Scott and Dustin. Let's talk a little bit about that today. Have a little more of a panel discussion. I want to talk about my experience hosting a panel. I got some thoughts, people, about having to navigate four people's thoughts in front of a crowd, but we'll save that in a little bit. Scott MacLaren, first off, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I think I'm on a little delay here.
A little delay. Oh, that's not good. A little delay. We can do this, Scott. We're live, so we're gonna make it happen. You can pop right back in the room. We'll get you. That may help some of the delay. We'll see what Scott's going on at Clee Culture. Follow them on Instagram. Check it out. You been into any fun of non-cannabis events lately, Scott?
Yeah. I have been going to a lot of events at Dunlop's Corner Bar. I get Sundays or some comedy shows I go to every Sunday, pretty much, put on by Ramon Rivas and Tanea Timmons. It's a pay what you can. I definitely suggest checking it out. I mean, it's hard to come by somewhere that's that affordable. It's happy hour till 8:00 too, so can't beat it. Doug Benson's going to be there as well. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, look at Dunlap bringing in. Well, I think Ramon knows Doug from back in the day, right? I think Ramon in Doug's world. Ramon had a spit. Ramon Rivas, he's a Cleveland comedian, went out to L.A. He's cannabis-centric. He kind of fell into that world in Los Angeles and such, and probably got to know Doug, who's living like Doug Benson lives. If you're not keeping up to date with your 90s comedians and where they are now, is like living on a off the grid ranch in Arizona or some shit, and like touring around the country occasionally, clearly popping acid or doing all sorts of weird things for that. Clearly for that.
All right, become Doug Stanhope. There's a comedian's named Doug. I'll shut up.
I think you're right. You know what? I think I am Doug Stanhope. I think I'm getting my Dougs confused. Oh, snap. I'm getting my stoner-centric Doug comedians. It is Doug Stanhope that lives off the grid in Arizona in like a thing. And Doug Benson probably is fully integrated into the LA comedy scene. Still a big get. Famous guys named Doug.
Speaking of Doug Benson, he did a really, really awesome episode with our past guests, John Grabus. Whatever. But his fucking episode's pretty awesome.
Was he on the High and Mighty podcast? We just had John Gravis on the High and Mighty podcast. Doug Benson on there. Check that episode, our interview with
Gabris.
Gabris. That's what it is. John Gabris. We're terrible pronunciations. Is it Kevin Roche? Roche, is that what the name is?
It's actually Roche.
Roche.
No, it's Kevin Roche.
Kevin Roche. I guess. You are swagged out. If you're watching a video right now, Kevin has clearly attended a trade show or two in his time and grabbed as much swag off the tables as possible from the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. You're looking good, sir. Who are we representing today?
Oh, buddy,
I feel like you just want to race, and every person just threw their shit on top of you as soon as you were done. They're like, "Oh no, let's get him in the hat. Let's get him in the shirt." That's what you look like right now.
I feel like a Roman general returning on a triumph, right? I'm going through the streets being processed. I got all the corporate swag on. Let's see. Up top, we got an Arrow vaporizer company hat representative. I think that's Buckeye Relief. Okay. I got the Meigs County Stole. Like, this is my favorite now, but this is the Meigs County grown. They're nice. I like them. We got Vibe. Yeah, Vibe.
Oh, Vibe. I was wondering how that was pronounced. Vibe. VYB.
VYBE. Vibe. Come on, man.
Yeah. All right.
IEIOU and sometimes Y. So it's Vibe, and they're an extractions and edibles company, and they're like up in Massachusetts, and they're doing a bunch of other stuff. And then we got the old Woodward. You can love it, you can hate it. I don't get it. That's a weird. I don't understand the slogan, but that's Woodward's. I got the old. What is it? Scientific.
I was with you the whole fucking time. How did you get all this shit? I was there. I was next to you. I think I got the Woodward shirt, but I don't.
Irish charm. I just get in there and I just talk, and then I walk away and I have things, and I don't know what happens in between.
I will say one of the best parts of attending a conference, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about just what the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit is, but let's get in the swag since we're there and Kevin's dropping his stuff, is getting free stuff. Like, I love getting free stuff. I brought my parents to the cannabis conference this year, and my mother has never been more excited to walk through this place. They got every fly swatter. Every single thing that could be given away was given away. In fact, they were super excited. Blaze Away was a big hit. 3 full-size bottles of the Blaze Away from David Millet, giving out samples there for that. I didn't get as much stuff. I'd say my biggest get is this little mini speaker from the Botanist chain there, right? A little mini Bluetooth speaker there. I spun the wheel and won that for that. We give a shout to Ascension Biomedical. I've shouted them out before. We got a little tray and little grinder from them kind of thing. I didn't even realize what this was till today. I thought it was just a standard tube to put it in, but Canatrack, which I believe is an accounting software, not the glass, device for any consumable that you may want to consume in that area.
Not a one hitter. Yeah,
it could be a whistle. Right? It's a whistle.
Yeah,
it's a dog whistle, a glass dog whistle.
Playing a lovely tune there. Oh, I am obviously truly. I won the coffee mug, but I got to talk about the real secret idea when it comes to freebies at these conventions. And that's the samples, right? So Ohio is a legal medicinal state, but it is not a legal adult use state. So our cannabis conventions are very much in a business to business aspect, or in the business to customer. It's an informational aspect. This isn't the hash bash. This isn't a cannabis cup. This isn't clouds in the air all over the place. These are, more traditional settings of what you think trade shows and conferences. There's consumption on site, but there is legal cannabinoids in the state of Ohio, all Delta 8 CBD and such. So all these legal cannabinoid companies, and much less, I think, than previous years, they give out little samples of a chocolate, little bites, little samples of, this, maybe a gummy here, maybe a pre-roll there. But you got to be careful with those things, Dustin Kava. I heard Dustin Kava may have had a moment or two where he may have had, no names please, a sample chocolate, and it may have been a bit much.
I
throw Dustin under the bus. He's like, you told me that in confidence, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I got fucked up after that show. It was fucked up. It was fucked up.
You don't need to have all the details, but it was
all I know. The edible was a lot stronger than I thought. I thought maybe it was like a 10 milligram. It was like a 60 milligram, and I fucking was laid out. In fact, there was a point towards the middle of it where I was like, I don't think I'm going to smoke anymore. I think I'm done. I think this is it for me. I'm not interested anymore in cannabis. I got this fucking show. I build websites for all the fucking cultivators. I think I'm out. I think I'm going to accounting or some bullshit. This is fucked up. And then I talked to BC, and BC's like, man, I had to sit in my car for an hour after wanting to leave.
I did.
couldn't
Oh,
fucking leave. So
that's
I know that he felt my pain there, man. I know that he
on Friday. Actually, Scott, I think you were with me. No, you were at the booth. So Scott was working the Cleveland School of Cannabis booth, and I probably had all of my convergence of, you know, maybe a little on-site consumption combined with a couple of samples, combined with being there all day, having just finished the panel and doing a bit of a swag run at the end. We stopped by the Cleveland School of Cannabis booth. Scott was actually there kind of wrapping up that day. And I remember specifically, I was talking to another person at the school and a student, and then I went and I reintroduced myself to the person, and he was like, you just said that. And I'm like, I'm in a place right now. All right. In a place. And so about 5:30, and that's when I actually got this Ascension biomedical stuff. It was all happening in that moment. And then I sat, you know, I think I said goodbye, but I sat in the parking lot for about a half hour, 40 minutes, just kind of drinking some water and like getting back in my place. Because the sample upon the sample stacking, there's a mathematical science behind it that I am not smart enough to understand. But when they happen and when they smush together all within your intestines and bloodstream, there's a multiplication factor sometimes that catches up with you that you just don't realize. Scott, could you tell when I was talking to you that I was a little too sampled?
You look like you were feeling pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to get where you were, man. I didn't get
just
enough.
Picture me at that exact same moment, laying in my bed, going, "I don't think I'm doing this anymore. This is fucked up. I can't fucking."
Dude, I can't about how I got zooted and met Ed Rosenthal on accident, and I was
Ed Rose. All right, go ahead.
Oh my god! So like, I have just gotten to the con. I am maybe a little previous parking lot type situation. Who knows what I know? But what I'm saying is that I was in a different state. Now, another thing you need to know about me is I like caffeine. I like vitamin B12. I like energy drinks. I have ADHD, so I need stimulants to just like function like a normal person. And I possibly could have overdone it that specific morning. So I get there. And I'm walking into the con. I just talked to one of the fake cops because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to find my film crew. And they laughed at me. They laughed at me as I was like, hey, have you seen my film crew? They're somewhere around there. And they're just like, welcome to hell. I walked into the con, and then I'm just kind of like turning around. And you know how some people say when they see Sasquatch, or things go quiet around them? Like they just have a cone of silence for just a moment. I like stopped, and I felt like this cone of silence as someone just walked past me. I turned. Oh, it's Ed Rosenthal, and I've only read every book he's ever written, and like, oh, he's only a personal hero. Better be cool. Better be real cool. I was not cool. I said, hey, Ed. And he turns around, and Ed Rosenthal is a very busy man, and he very graciously turned around and said, hello, and shook his hand, and I said, hi, Ed, I'm a big fan. And then he says to me, are you on the panel today? And I said, no. And he says, well, I am. And then he walks away. And I'm like, yep, that's correct. Yep, yeah, yes, sir. And I just like faded away. I was zooted and booted. I was, dude. It's the weirdest experience. That's how I learned that I can't meet famous people, right?
It is hard sometimes.
I'm just going to give them a tip, and that's it.
It's hard sometimes to meet them, especially if you are not feeling like your best, right? Because you feel like you're a little looser, and then you realize, you know, you're probably too loose. And then you're dealing with someone who, let's be honest, Ed Rosenthal, the majority of people that Ed Rosenthal speaks to are pretty high. Like, let's be real. He lives in a world of weed. He goes to weed conferences. Everyone that's waiting in line to talk with him looks a little high, right? I mean, so it's his world and his people. So it's kind of like being like working in the tequila industry and you're always drinking. Like people are always in that space. So you kind of get used to that. aspect. My parents showed up as I was talking to Ed Rosenthal. I was like interviewing Ed on the spot, and my dad shows up and starts taking pictures of me while Dustin's taking video of me taking pictures of Ed Rosenthal. And I just kind of was like, but they were like
so cool, and I was so not cool, man. I goofed real hard, bud.
It happens. It's easy to do. Did you think there was way less though this year? I felt like at the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit, like samples. I didn't see any flower. Nope. It wasn't like last year. There was people had tons of pre-rolls and shit out, and this year I felt like the sampling was a lot. And I don't know if it was on purpose. I'm gonna guess it was purposely pulled back. It felt pulled back a bit.
Yeah, I got last year. I got a 500 milligram.
You got 500 milligram last year?
Dude gave me a whole bar. I was like, "This is fantastic." I was like, "I love
That's like
this
trick
place.
or treat." It's like trick or treat. When you go to one of these places and you get like a full bar, you're like, that house is one you remember, right? You shout them out. You're like, to do that. It's exciting.
I was about to go back, but I couldn't get another one.
You can't be greedy and go back and get a second bar. You tell your friends about it, though. You tell your friends where to go. Like, I gotta go. That dude gives out full bars, right? Like, you gotta go smooth them. It's like all Kevin's t-shirts. I didn't get any shirts this year. I had to buy my own shirt, but shout out to Amanda Taylor. Kevin's walking around in the free t-shirt swag.
That's where it's at, that wearable merch.
Yeah, buddy. That's the move. I like a t-shirt, all right? I've been spoiled on t-shirts. This Woodward shirt, it's like a premium cotton print on garment. Listen, this is great. Step the game. But also, I just want to let this be known to any corporate sponsors. I will wear your shit on the air anyway.
It is something, though. You start to notice. Dustin, you lost your camera there, buddy.
I did, but you know what? Sorry. Fucking Kevin got one of the best ever pieces of schwag from Honey Dabber. He got a wooden spoon with a glass fucking attack, like a glass / wood. Look at how classy this fucking
thing
is.
What is that?
Dude, it is the sexiest little hand pipe in the entire world. You got that for
free?
Yeah. Actually, this is funny. We're talking to Honey Dabber, which I've worked with for fucking 8 years. And the guy looks over at me. He's like, and Kevin, he's like, would you guys like something? And so I'm trying to be reasonable. So I pick out the one hitter thinking like, I'm not going to ask this guy for a fucking $50 hand pipe. Kevin looks at him straight faced and goes, I want the hand pipe. And the guy was just like, okay, and hands on the fucking hand pipe.
This is incredible. I'm going to use this for everything. This is something I'm never going to shut up about because this guy is going to get $5,000 worth of advertising. I walk underneath a black walnut tree every day of my life when I walk my dog. All right, I got a grove of them. This is actually very special because this is made out of turned black walnut. You know how cool this thing is? Like, I'm a wood carver. I understand how cool this thing is. It's incredible. This is something I'm going to give to my grandchildren, right? This is art.
You're going to give your grandchildren your dirty pipe?
My name is Kevin William Roche. You're damn right I will. Yeah, I will. B.C.
Oh, chaos.
This is incredible. This is art. I'm never going to forget that guy.
Scott, what was your mystery bag?
Worth that much. I had no idea.
It's all right. You got it for free now. It's all good. I think it's awesome. Hey, are you going to use it?
I'm going to use it on I don't know, special occasions.
Like premium grade, like when you get premium grade concentrate, like high end stuff. That's the only time.
Well, on my wedding anniversary. Wow. This is something special. All right. I had no idea it cost money afterwards. I looked it up and I felt terrible.
How much does it cost?
You feel terrible, but we got to get this guy on the show because he actually was really interesting, and these are so cool.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, it was. When I left the show, I was like, "Damn, I should have asked for him."
Well, he's giving out that kind of shit. Scott, what did you get?
I got a bunch of shirts, some shirts. A lot of grinders. I got a shit ton of batteries, bro. I got more batteries than I'll ever need in my entire life.
I do. I actually forgot. I got 2 batteries, I think, too. I forgot to get them out.
Battery game was very strong this convention. Man. Very happy about it. I'm a Fat 10 fan. Fat 10 fanatic.
I think I got like 7.
Oh, yeah. I'm always using them. You know,
I got a metal grinder too. I like the metal grinder.
Ooh, metal grinders are harder to come by. They're always,
Yeah.
and I don't blame them. They're always these plastic ones that I have that essentially, which is the standard, because these are like, if you're doing the dirty business here, I know these are probably about $2, $2.25 if you buy like 100 wholesale. I'm gonna give out some prices. I bought this stuff. These things are right here. If you look at the rolling trays, once again, the plastic or rolling trays, kind of mass produced. I think you're like at $1.50 or so, $2 if you buy them. But those metal grinders are like $3, $4 wholesale to stamp your logo on, usually the two level one without a keef trap.
I've been over.
It's got the keef trap and everything. It's official.
Ooh.
It's good.
Official. I got the speaker too. That's
the
stuff I like. I like the wearable, and I like stuff that I'll actually use. Like I got a squish ball. What the fuck am I going to use the squish ball for?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Doob tubes, holders, material holders, whatever you want to call them. We call them doob tubes. That is, to me, is something that people undersell that. I think those are great. I think you can always use more of this because they get dirty, they get old and stuff like that. Batteries, as you guys said, that's something. Wearable's good, but it's expensive. Wearable adds up. Like, the problem with wearables, those shirts and stuff add up. So it becomes like, how do you get to thousands of people with the lowest cost possible? And that's when you get into like stress balls and you get into keychains and shit that no one wants, but it's just cheap with your logo. And it's this balance when you're on the other side of the table. How much money do I spend to give away free stuff for things that is Kevin going to consume? Woodward and Vibe and Arrow and all that. I mean,
but the wearable merch has another generation of advertising on it. The squish ball I throw away, you know.
That's a good point. Like anything for the wearable. People love we got the Midwest Canner First that label my bud. My plug's got, what's that say? Something about
my plug asks me for favors. Your plug asks me for favors. I wear their shirt all the time.
Yeah,
I love that shirt. It's again print on garment. This is the way. I know. You know what it reminds me of? And this is a very strange kind of assimilation, but it's a targeted advertisement. Because the advertisement, the t-shirt, the wearable, whatever, is a higher value item. So you have to aim that target correctly. Aim that target correctly. Sorry, I'm here. Aim that, like you would with like an algorithm advertisement or something like that. And you have to kind of use that same philosophy of like picking and choosing the people to connect it to, you know?
I agree.
Especially with something that's worth like a t-shirt's got to be, I don't know, $7, 10, 15, something like this. You know, you got to make the right selection.
You guys have both, Scott and Kevin, both been on the other side, and you probably have too, Dustin, but on the other side of the table at the conventions. Do you do that? Do you pick and choose who you give your shit to? Like, who gets the higher stuff? Like, the more conversation, you ever reach down and you're like, you know what? Let me give you, because we do like spin the wheel sometimes, and if they land on like a pen, but they're like cool for whatever reason, I'm like, let me give you a pair of shades with your pen there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you gonna
do if you put a camera in my face, I'm giving you everything. If you put a camera in my face and you post it on social media, you get the whole tape. I don't care.
I feel like we got some.
You know what's really funny? Not one of us have mentioned the education of the convention.
Well, we're getting there, Dustin. We'll transition on. All right, I got one more thought on swag. Best time of the day. Hold on. The best time of the day to swag run it up is end of conference on the last day. I made a run at about 4:00 on Saturday. I was there. We'll transition. I watched the Andrew D'Angelo keynote speech at 2:00, and the conference was winding up kind of at 5. So about 3:30 to 4:30, I walked the floor really for the first time all over the place. And I got way more than I even brought. People were like, that's where I think the stuff like the speaker and things were normally spin to win. They're like, here you go. They don't want to bring it all back. That's where I got this True Leaf coffee mug. Like, it was normally a thing, and she's walking by and giving everyone their bag and the mug. She's like, here you go. Take one. Take one. Take one. They're giving it all away because they don't want to bring it back to the office. It's just stuff they're going to use. It's not their budget. So
it's 5 ounces
that's
off the back. You know? It's 5 ounces. You don't got to carry the car. You know?
Not the best kind of 5 ounces. The Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. We had Lenny Berry on a few weeks ago. You can find that show. We'll put the link in the comments to Lenny talking about how he founded it. And one of the principles and purpose behind the conference is low price access for everyone, which having free tickets for patients of the program, took a simple quick Google. The code was all over the place. Having a relatively low cost, $35 for 2 days compared to MJ Unpacked, which just happened in Detroit, which was like $200 for a day, right? So you're talking a whole different world. and it is full of access. Speaking of Ed Rosenthal, speaking of Andrew D'Angelo, full of access to people that you don't normally get to run into and hear from, CEOs and stuff all over there. What was anyone have a favorite presentation, a favorite panel, a favorite speaker that they saw at the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit?
I did not get to see.
Was really awesome to hear speak. I think he just has this presence about him on stage that you're just like, he's a guy I want to be friends with. He just has a authenticity about him that, like, I don't know, is sometimes unmatched by a panel. You hear a lot of passion on the panels, but I think, I don't know, there was something different about him. This year, I saw less demonstrations than what I did last year. I don't know if it was because I wasn't running around filming as much into the demonstration areas, but it's definitely something that I miss. And I don't even think many people realize to go downstairs and see the demonstrations. The convention's so big, and then you walk into the speaker area and it's a whole nother separate section. And just getting downstairs sometimes, I don't know. I heard a lot of people this year go, I didn't even know there was a basement. And it's like, fuck, last year you missed so many demonstrations. Get down there now. You know, it's such a neat show for Ohio. It's one of the ones I look forward to every year, which is, you know, it says something.
How about you, Scott? You said you didn't get a chance to see much this year?
I didn't get the chance to see any. No, I was working it.
I have found, you know what I noticed? It's hard sometimes to get people to sit down at these shows, right? I find that even in the crowds watching the panels, there's a lot of movement in the crowd, right? And so that part makes it tough to have. I feel like the panels there are in a little bit bigger room. I think I'd take the panels and put the panels down below, kind of where the workshops are, because they're smaller and more intimate, and keep the speakers and the demonstrations up top, which are more stagey and presenty kind of vibe. I think that would switch it up a bit. But it is interesting how many amazing panels come through, right? If you're into patient advocacy, there's a conversation for you. If you're into, business, there's a conversation. If you're into growing and seed genetics, you got Ed Rosenthal talking those stuffs. But I got to tell you, as someone who has moderated a panel or two, and we did one this weekend, I moderated the higher education. A lot of great educators. Here's the problem, though. You have 4 people plus myself who all are instructors in the college world, in much like Kevin and such. Like, it's easy to talk. It's easy to talk. We're used to talking a lot. I'm talking a lot right now. So you have 5 people on stage who are all talkers, and you have 45 minutes, and they all want to talk about something. So I tried something this year I thought was going to be maybe a little, not novel approach, but more like me. I'm a little OCD. I gave them very strict schedules, right? I gave them hey, you have an opening bit, introduce yourself, give an opening line. You have 3 minutes. I tried to give them 3 minutes. No one could make it. They all talked for 6-7 minutes. So basically after their introduction, I'm 15 minutes behind my schedule for the day. So it's hard. Panel conversations are hard for everyone. Everybody wants to say what they want to say, and it just, time sucks up. It's hard sometimes. Do you guys like watching panels? Do you get annoyed if someone monopolizes a panel?
Yeah. Yes, I do. But moderation is a skill. There's a definite skill set that is needed for because you don't want to be a bad host, but you also need to be able to tell people, all right, well, that's enough of you.
I had to cut a couple people off. I had to stop a couple people. I found a moment where they would take a breath and they were not done. And they stopped. And I'd have one person in particular, he stopped and I just went. And I went, all right, Joe, or whatever. What's your thought on that? Because he was clearly not done, but I knew that he had been talking for a long time. And so I just
don't understand why they don't have the fucking countdown clock above them. You got the projector there, and then I want it beeping loudly right when it gets down to 4 seconds, letting them know, come on, dude.
It's got to be like a comedy club. You got a light in the back, right? And you got to light it and be you got a minute. You got to wrap it up. But that's hard for some people.
Can I share something with you?
Yeah.
This is a principle of communication, and mass communication especially, that I kind of picked up. And it comes from engineering. My dad was an engineer. And this engineering thing is a project is not done until you can take like the most away. Once you've taken everything away as much as possible, then it's finished. The same thing as being like a professional orator, like we all are. You have to know when to speak, and most importantly, I think, when not to. When to, because to turn the tap on is very important. More important, how do I turn the tap off? I can take this plane off. How do I land it? Landing it is way harder and way more important of a skill than being able to actually open up. See, people think about communication as just, well, they don't. That's actually. And so you have to think about statements in a way that you're bringing things up. You started off like I did with that principle of engineering fit, and now how I'm ending it is not that anymore.
A professional oration given by a heavily swagged out Kevin Roche, Scott MacLaren, Dustin Kava. Dustin, I know you got to go soon. Hey, I want to talk a little bit before you go, Dustin, and then we'll talk some more when you're gone about issue 2 coming up here in Ohio. So we live in a world. We live in a world like movie trailer. All 4 of us, you know, most people that we speak with, including at the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit, they're in the cannabis world and they're all pro legalization of cannabis. I have seen in my neighborhood for the first time some vote no's. I've seen a lot of no on issue 1's. Issue 1's a pro-choice thing. We don't need to get into that. So I get how people are more no against that or yes against that. I guess I get that. But I've seen some no's to issue 2, and that's it. Like, not a combo no. I get a combo no. You're just against freedom of choice. Whatever, buddy. I can't help you. But a no strictly against cannabis. I saw that yard sign in there, and I went, wow, that dude really just doesn't want people smoking weed. But I got one big complaint about the movement for the legalization. Their yard signs, they're too big, and they're green, and they're hard to see. They're hard to see. They made longer, wider yard signs out of plastic material, cost measures, because and they're green, and I find them difficult to see when driving down the road.
I got the largest, like 6 foot tall vote no on cannabis fucking thing. It's like, keep your mind clear. And it's like as big as my fucking house. And so like,
You're like one of those dude who's like into like one of those Trump flags though, like just as big as you can make your message as possible. You're like a Florida guy.
And not only that, but they put it like 4 inches from the road, not like in their yard. It's like in the side of the fucking berm. Like they're like, you're gonna think this is a stop sign, but it's
you're like, am I gonna run into this thing? I'm not sure what's happening. Yes. It's so close.
I was feeling like a marathon, like I was going to go through it.
Are you guys yard sign people? I'm struggling. I want to support the cause, but I'm so anti-yard sign that I don't know what to do right now.
Dude,
as a renter, I can't.
I'm the only person in my neighborhood with one.
Do you have a yes on issue 2 up?
Yeah, I don't see any no's, but I'm the only person with a yes. They already know what's up though with me. They can smell it.
They see the blurple lights coming out your window.
I'm not letting anybody know shit they don't know already. So
you do have to think about it, right? Like we talk a lot, Dustin, about the cannabis closet. When you put the vote yes on issue 2 sign in your yard, you are effectively letting your neighbors know weed gets smoked here, bro. Like that's just when you put it down. Very few people. I mean, look, I've been at the school. Kevin's been there. We've been there long enough to know that there are a few folks who come through and are interested who aren't consumers, right? That number is small though. Like that's a very, very small number. And I think if you're going to go that extra measure, like there's no person who puts a giant, speaking of giant Trump flag, who's just like a moderate conservative, right? You're just like, it's not a moderation thing. You're all in. So if you put the weed sign, if you put the vote yes on issue 2, you're all in on that.
You ought to know. You know?
I got to run, guys.
We got to say goodbye to Dustin Kava. Dustin, take care, buddy. Hope it's all is well. We'll see you on the next episode of Because Cannabis. Take care, buddy. All right, Kevin and Scott. So I'm running away. So you guys are obviously voting yes on issue 2. Have you had the conversations about the voting and the reasons with like non-folks? Have you had to justify why people should vote yes, or is everyone you around it? Like, how are you dealing with that? I've had my first conversation about it, and I'm curious if you guys have had to convince people prove otherwise that they should vote yes on issue 2?
I live in a bubble.
Yeah.
I want to say that I've gone out and I've evangelized and I've converted so many people, but I think it's just by the virtue of the people I'm around all day, everybody's on board, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that gives a deceiving idea of the reality. I want to feel like, everybody is on board. I feel like most Americans are, but I don't really run into these people that are not. And that's also because I live in Cleveland. I work full-time, 6 days a week in cannabis. All the people I talk to are working in cannabis. It's, my life is painted green. And so that makes sense. And I feel very much like I'm trying to make too important of a point to be wearing this hat right now. But yeah, I haven't gotten any converts yet. Everybody seems to be pretty happy about it. And I think the group of people who are anti-marijuana are a very small but very loud, and their numbers are getting smaller every year.
Yeah.
But because I just don't see it. Who are these squares? Where are they? Are they in Ashland? I don't know.
They in Ashland are all the squares. Well, I think
I know you grow great weed out there. Shout out to Ashland, but you know what I'm saying.
I've been to Ashland. They're squares. Just kidding. Maybe not.
I've had one conversation.
Not great. It's cheese barn, son.
It was I had a conversation with somebody about the packaging. They were upset with the bright colors for because it could attract children. But my argument more is like they make Starburst energy drinks. A kid drinks one of those, it's going to do a lot more damage. Alcohol. They have Arizona iced teas that are alcoholic, bright colors. And if the color pink makes your kid eat an edible, that's a parent issue. So.
Well, it's
that was a conversation that we had, but it was only one. It wasn't even that heated. It wasn't like they were just kind of like, well, what about the packaging?
That conversation is, to me, when you get into that, I do step back a little bit and say I think sometimes it's a parent issue. Like it's the same thing with the Tide Pods. Those things happen. Right. But I'll tell you, you got a point when it comes to the alcohol. I was in the store. Well, it made me think, when you said that, it made me think of there was a viral story about some bus driver lady that got busted for drinking on the morning, and she had a White Claw, and she was like, I didn't know it was a White Claw. I'm like, yes, you did. You knew it was alcohol. Like, you knew it was alcohol. There's never been a White Claw. But there are some energy drinks, some alcohol, like the pre-mixed ones and such, that are kind of the liquor-based ones, the mocktails or cocktail ones that are very bright and very colorful. And next to an energy drink, they're very indistinguishable between the two. I mean, you can tell as soon as you taste it if it has booze in it, but the packaging design in the alcohol, like single serve can, has become very bright, very colorful, very indistinguishable from an energy drink. So I don't know how you can tell the difference.
A perspective as a Pennsylvanian, right? When I grew up in Pennsylvania, they have a different liquor and alcohol law structure in which, kids are never going to be in an environment where you are selling these things. It's either going to be like at a special state-run liquor store, or it's going to be a specialty beer and wine shop where a child would never have access to that kind of thing. It's the same deal with dispensaries, though, isn't it? Now, once that bottle gets home to your parents' house, I'm not going to pretend, by the way, that I didn't spend a good majority of those teenage years in Pennsylvania nearly dead in a cornfield off of some strawberry liqueur, all right? Like, I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't drinking Vladimir vodka and fruit punch, right? Like, there's a responsibility there's a personal responsibility aspect to it, of course. And like we said, a parent issue, but also, just an education issue, right? Like, I was not really, it's like, you educate the kids. I'm like, okay, this is what this is. Don't take this unless certain circumstances or medical circumstances in Ohio or, you're above 21 and you're in some other state. But you got to talk to them. It's never simple. Or lock it up. Just lock it up like you would a pistol, right? Lock it up like your liquor cabinet. This isn't hard. We've already figured out these solutions, right? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. The solution's already there. Let's just apply it from other areas where we've used it.
I think kids these days, I often hear like you on Reddit or somewhere, and kids these days complain about how hard they have it. And it's like kids do and how easy their parents have it. I tell you right now, kids these days, you have so many more easier ways to get fucked up that it's unfair.
Oh, yeah.
You know how hard it was for people my age to get a little buzz on? You know how we had to steal it and the type of poor beer we had to drink? You can go right now to a gas station and buy about 19 things that can rock your world in 16 seconds compared to how we had to go. The dirt weed, that's my old man on my lawn speech. Kids these days, it is so easy to get a buzz on if you're young compared to what we had to go through to
and hide it too, man. They got the pens now.
Yes,
like they can conceal it. There's no risk involved.
They buy those little samples, those little D8 things that me and Dustin ate that got a little messed up on. You can buy those gummies in the gas station. Oh, shout out. I did not have them here. There's a D8 company that was at the convention that's selling 100. They sell these in the store, 100 milligram D8 gummies, the heavy hitters, as they call them. That's some powerful, and that's legal. Like you could buy that stuff right now today.
Wait a second. I need to give you a quote.
Okay.
Can I give you a quote? So this is from Socrates. And this is giving the exact same complaint. The children now live luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders and love chatter in places of exercise. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their households. They no longer rise when elders enter the room. They contradict their parents, chatter before company, gobble up dainties at the table, cross their legs, and tyrannize their teachers. And the point I'm trying to make by saying that whole Socrates quote I just had to look up is that this is a universal historical phenomenon, and that no matter what era you are in, you are going to feel that way about a younger generation. All right. And they're actually, the kids are all right. They're fine. They're having just as hard a time as anybody else has ever had, because nobody has an easy childhood.
That is an interesting way to look at it, though.
The kids are all right.
I would have killed for the opportunity to not reek and have to, because
right.
I didn't know when I was kid, I just walked into everywhere just reeking. I didn't use any cologne. There was no gum. It was just
even like the tobacco consumers, right? We had to smoke cigarettes and we got busted for that. Like everyone smoked cigarettes when I was young, but nowadays you just get to vape and just all the smells. Yeah. No work to disguise your high. You don't got to put it through a toilet paper with a paper towel. Remember like toilet paper roll with like a lint thing, like a lint thing on the end and you blow it through to get rid of that smell. Like you don't got to do that shit. You don't got to put towels under the doors and open up the window and fan it out and hope that no one smells it, because you just take a quick hit of your little freaking pen and you're like, oh, I'm good. No one knows. You take one of your quick gummies and you're good to go. I don't know. It's interesting though, how they go it. Do you guys think issue 2 is going to pass?
First off, I do just want to say, that the initial plans for vaporizers were thought up in the 1970s in the era of both your childhoods, and it was there too. You just didn't see it.
It was there. We had no access. Yeah, but that's also like they have things going on. That's like anything though, right? Like anything. California, you go out west, they had both the cooler fashions and the cooler weed before it makes its way to central Ohio. There's things I'm learning about recently in the industry, in our industry, that someone was like, man, we've had that in LA for like 5 years. I'm like, oh, well, that's exciting.
Thanks, California.
Yeah.
Sorry. But anyway, what are you saying? Issue 2.
Do you think it's going to pass?
Yeah. That's tentative, yeah.
I do, but I'm on guard.
Yes, that's how I feel as well. I concur, Scott. It may pass. I want it to, but I do not. There's going to be some malarkey.
There will be malarkey.
Have to navigate the malarkey. We're going to have to avoid the malarkey. Because if it passes, the establishment is not going to be happy about that. They're going to try and interfere and intercede. And just because the vote passes does not mean the fight is over. And I don't want people to lose the fire. Right?
That's a
That's the
great
one
point.
thing that we need. Like until every state is legal, until there's a federal law, until there's federal protection, until every inmate is free, every smoke you smoke is an act of protest, right? And we got to keep that fire moving. We have to keep that alive until there's a federal law, until every prisoner is free, until everything is the way it should be. I'm not trying to rhyme here. I'm just trying to tell you that, like, because we win a vote does not mean it's over. All right? It's over when the fat lady sings. Sorry, the large person sings. But you understand what I'm trying to get into with this sentiment is that it'll be over when it's over, just because you need to vote, right? I'm looking right down the pipe of the camera. You need to vote, but be on guard as well. Because just because if we win this vote, and if you vote, we're going to win this vote. I want to remind you that California's 1996 medical marijuana law, Prop 19, only passed by like 3% of a vote. Okay? It's always that with marijuana votes. It's always 3-4%.
Yeah, it's
that
never like
lunatic
80%.
fringe that shows up, all right? And we need you, the lunatic fringe, to show up. But just because you do doesn't mean it's over. It just means it starts. Sorry.
No, it's a great point, though. And it's funny to bring it back around to the beginning. When you're at a conference like the OCHBS, because it is a bit sanitized and because it is a bit professional, you do forget sometimes that every time that I eat a malted milk ball, that it is a bit of an act of protest. And I was like, this is just a yummy pumpkin spice malted milk ball. But no, Kevin Roche says it is a protest. It's a protest bite. It does think about that. You forget sometimes the fight. That's a great point, Kevin. And you do forget sometimes the fight. You forget sometimes the argument. You forget sometimes that like vibe of it, right?
Yeah, there's people still in a concrete square because of this. Hell in a concrete square away from their families. I don't mean to bring it into a bummer, but like the fight's not over, okay? We still have a lot of work to do. Now, if we win the vote in Ohio, that signifies no ending. That only signifies the beginning. That is the opening bell to the fight for recreational cannabis in Ohio, right? We've won the vote. Now we have to build a system that works for all of us, that works for Ohio. We have to build a system that doesn't put people at an immediate disadvantage. We have to build a system where we can all prosper from it, right? The moment we vote and we pass that bill, that's the opening bill of the fight, round one. And we're going to have to dance all night, man.
That's the kind we can't keep up with that passion, Scott. Kevin's fired up right now.
I know. Gotta get my shit together.
Gotta get your shit together. You gotta get out there. You want to get the people going. I meant to talk about this. I meant to talk about this in the beginning, Kevin. How's your book coming?
The book is done.
Is it really?
Yeah, the book is done. We are looking at the final little cover selection. All right, so the book has been written. We're just doing a little cover selection bits now, and I'm looking to do an Amazon Kindle release at the end of the month. If not today. Today, the 18th, was my preemptive release date, the one I wanted to hit because it's my 34th birthday. But we're now looking at the end of the month. All right, and so that's what we're doing. So you'll look for it soon on Amazon Kindle. One thing I noticed, I'm doing a self-publishing thing. I was writing this book and I got really tripped up on word count. And then I realized I have to release this on Kindle, and page count means nothing. Because you can zoom in and out the size of the page, and that changes the size, how many pages are in your book. So page count means nothing. Dude.
I got to wrap my head around that for a second, but you are right. It is becoming... Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but so anyway, it was something like 28,000 word. I don't have the word right here in my hands, but like we're getting there. we're getting there. We should be looking at that end of the month, November. Look at that for Amazon, Kevin Roche. I'm thinking I'm going to release it under Kevin W. Roche because it turns out there's like a really famous, well-accomplished architect that's going to overshadow me in everything I ever do. And his name is Kevin Roche, so I got to give the initial.
Hey, even Michael B. Jordan had to do it. There's always somebody maybe more famous than you with your name.
Anyway, look for the Spring Creek Shake, the search for the secret Appalachian cannabis culture out on Amazon Marketplace soon, coming to you.
I'm excited to learn. We'll have to talk about that more when we get you back on and talk about it. I'm excited to read that, Kevin. I'm looking forward to learning more about that. Scott, what do you got going on? Anything exciting coming up?
Yeah, this Friday I'll be at Halloween Havoc. Again, it's at Dunlop's Corner Bar at 8 p.m. It's $12, bunch of local artists there. I'm going to go see Mellow Man Funk and Westside Low. Those are two that I like a lot. Just being out and about.
I don't know. You're literally just throwing words. You could have made up those names for all I know. Like they could have been made up band names for all I know. I assume those are bands. That's how out of touch I am. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. They could be strain names. I don't know. You could just be making shit up.
They could be strain names.
It does sound like a strain name.
Where's that West Side Look? That's a good one. That's a good one.
This reminds me, just because it's Halloween time, before we go, do you guys do haunted houses anymore?
I want to.
I need.
But the kids think they want to, but they ain't ready.
No, like, yeah, the jump out of the monsters, the people dressed up, haunted houses, pay money to go get scared thing. Like, it's not for me. I agree with you. I have kids that think they want to go, and they do not know. I can't let them go because I'm the one that's got to stay up with them later at night because they can't go to bed because people in mass jumped out at them. Plus, I'm not waiting in line. I'm not waiting in line to be scared. I'm not waiting 30, 40 minutes. That's a terrible idea. Who wants to stand for an hour just to have someone scream at you?
I would, most of the time, they're for like charity. And when they're for charity, I'd rather just give you the $20. I'd rather just say, oh, fill the Halloween bucket. I don't need to get shouted at by a stranger. I don't, look, man, I love horror movies. It's my favorite form of media. I'm doing the 31 for 31 horror movie a night for October challenge. But I like having the screen in between me and Leatherface, you know? Like, I need that screen between me and Jigsaw for me to feel comfortable.
There is something when it breaks. All right, I got to tell you this quick story, then we'll go. It's my favorite haunted house moment. I worked in a haunted house for 2 years. I volunteered when I was down in Columbus, so I worked at this haunted house. And there's a lot of stories from that. But my favorite memory ever was kind of standing up by the ticket booth. And there was like maybe 6, 7, 8 porta potties all in a row here. And it was a pretty busy season. And so the porta potty lines, they move like porta potty lines do. You know, they're mixed gender and they just kind of take some time, slower or whatnot. And this one line just wasn't moving. It just wasn't moving. I don't know how long. I don't know how long this guy worked the bit, but for at least 10, 15 minutes, this one line wasn't moving. And some kid, young kid, maybe 12, 13, 14, walks up to the line. Like he's kind of first and he walks up to the door and he kind of jiggles on it and he walks away. And it says like people are talking about this whole thing. This kid goes back up to grab it. It's been about a 20-minute. I swear it's been at least 20 minutes that it's been sitting there, which feels like a long time for someone to stand in a porta potty. But out of nowhere, this kid goes back up and he kind of jiggles the handle again. And gosh darn it, if a dude who worked there dressed in full coveralls, Jason mask with the chainsaw without the chain comes barreling out that porta potty just full just in your face thing. This kid, I've never heard a more blood curdling, whatever bathroom he had to go was lost, I'm sure, in his pants. I've never heard a more blood curdling scream in my life. And then props to the dude who worked the bit, standing in a porta potty for who knows how long. Maybe he was really just using it and decided to work it at the end. But it was one of the greatest jump scares I have ever witnessed because you don't expect it. You know, once you get in the line and people are inside the house in the porta potty, you don't expect it. And this guy was great. He was a good line worker. You ever see the guy that works the line, usually goes after the cute high school girls. He's got the chainsaw without the chain and just, kind of works the line, gets him going. It was that guy. But he nailed the coming out of the porta potty bit to perfection. And it's still this day. It's been 25 years and that memory is singed in my head watching that kid scream and kind of crawl away. And this guy just owned the moment.
That's incredible, BC.
It was terrifying.
I have stories. I didn't know we were going to talk about this. We can talk about it. yeah, I got punched in the face working at one of those ones. I had to do a bit where I was wearing like all black, like a bunraku Japanese puppet show, and then I had just like a white mask on that glowed in the dark. And so people had to go through a doorway that was a dead end, and then I'm hidden in an alcove, and I step in front of the exit real quick as they see me, and then I like fade back into the shadows.
All right, I get it.
I did that. This kid turned around, and he was like all of 12 years old, so I can't retaliate at all. He just popped me right in the face. It's like, and I can't say anything because I'm like a shadow wraith or whatever. So I just like kind of go back into the background.
I like your commitment to character,
dude. Yeah, I'm wearing like a plastic Jason mask too, so it's like I can't like it's a kind of protected me, but I was like I can't. Yeah.
There's a hierarchy to working in those places for like the rooms. Like the people who've been there the longest get the cooler rooms and do those things. I was always stuck working like lame rooms, like without great costumes, because you were like new person on the block, so to speak.
Were you like the guy chained to the wall, like, or is that you?
Yeah,
I
remember working for one season, like in the bat room. It was just a wear whatever mask you want. It was more the theme of the room, which was just a bunch of rubber bats and black lights. Like it was a room that they ran out of creative ideas. And so nobody wanted to work the bat room because there was no theme. You just grab anything scary. You just got to pop. It's a black light triggered pop up and go, but there was no theme. You'd rather be the thematic room where you are the person and there's a mad scientist and there's a whole skit. Here it's just, you got to be we're in between themes. So just pop up and scare them. You're like, oh, there's no motivation. Like, what's my mantra here? Why do I want to scare these people? What is my backstory? Is my creature? Like, how have I grown up? How was I neglected? Like, there's none of that. Just raw. You get the sore throat though. You get the raw throat. That's the one thing you do way more like raw. It takes its toll on you after a while. Then you kind of think of different ways to say raw and ooh and ah, acting, Kevin. What am I going to do?
What?
All right, fellas. This has been Because Cannabis. We're going to end on a bit of a whimper, but hey, thank you everyone for checking out. Scott MacLaren in one box. We got Kevin Roche in another box. Dustin Kava here earlier talking the Ohio Cannabis Health and Business Summit. We'll put some links on there. Thank you guys for joining me today. Got a quick show between, things going on, but appreciate you guys joining us, wrapping it up and all the stuff that we have been doing together and working on. Any final words from either one of you?
No. Follow me on social media at Kevin W. Roche, ROCHE. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Make sure you
all right, everyone.
vote.
Take care.
Make sure
go
you
on vote.
Follow Clean Culture.